Hey Pavlo, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm good.
Good, good. I'm so excited we can connect. It's been we've interacted a lot. You've been a customer of Grain
Yep.
for a while, and that led me to you see a bunch of your stuff on LinkedIn, which I love because it's just so actionable. How you break down home pages with great suggestions on messaging. So I was really excited to kind of get you in a conversation and kind of learn from you about messaging.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So
Happy to be
yeah,
here.
why don't we start off with just you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so like the really short version is that I've been in marketing for like 12-ish years, wore a bunch of hats, and then I figured that I wanted to do copy because that's what I apparently was good at looking back, and that's what I was getting results. And then I started concisecopy.co, and that's where for the past 2 years I'm helping B2B SaaS with copy and more specifically messaging and homepage messaging.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I like I mentioned, you've got just like a lot of really great tips and suggestions on what makes great what makes great homepage messaging, and so I really just wanted to dive into that and kind of get your take on some things. So just diving right in, would love to hear like what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about B2B SaaS homepage messaging since you've been working on your startup?
Well, the biggest lesson that I've learned, including with my own homepage and trying to sell my services, was that, like, this phrase "clear over clever." It's
Clear over
true,
clever.
but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, clear over clever. But what's even more important than being clear is being relevant. Because if that's irrelevant, no matter how clear it
Mm.
is or clever it is, like it's pretty useless if it's irrelevant to the person you're showing it to. And other than that, another big lesson or like observation that I'm seeing lately is that B2B SaaS, like lots of founders, but especially B2B SaaS, the technical folks try to educate themselves, which is
Mm.
obviously a noble pursuit, but like the advice they're getting from like all the copywriting blogs and copywriting courses is misconstrued because they are trying to lead with the benefits and they are taking it to the absolute extreme. And like you can see for yourself that like half of the websites, startup websites you visit, promise to increase productivity, increase revenue, like the absolute
Yeah,
final end of the
yeah,
food chain.
you're basically like the most abstract benefit.
Yeah. Like it's like I think I did a post recently on this. What percentage of your revenue should be attributed to the burrito place you grabbed lunch at last week? Because obviously you did like gain energy from it. Obviously it helped you close the deals, but like it does impact your
Interesting.
revenue, but like in what
Yeah, it's
capacity?
interesting because you see a lot of advice. Like I've had investors, some advisors say like you got to speak to one of those like big three. In B2B SaaS, there's sort of like three buckets of value. It's like we help you save time, we help you reduce costs, or we help you get new revenue. And it's
Yeah,
like you got to speak to one of those three. But like to your point, it's sort of like saying that like you know Lord of the Rings is the same as Harry Potter because they're both about good conquering an evil bad guy or whatever.
yeah,
It's like when you
yeah.
abstract everything enough, it just becomes meaningless.
Yeah, I think I got in a conversation with Anthony Pieri a while back, and basically, if your software doesn't have a print money or increase revenue button, like you shouldn't promise that on your homepage. And most
Mm.
software, like even Stripe, doesn't have print money button.
Print
So
money.
yeah, yeah, cha-ching. So yeah, and like maybe to answer the question, one more lesson I'm learning again on myself as well and on my clients' projects is that iterating really is a competitive advantage because if you're able to iterate and you're able to iterate on your messaging, like you're moving faster and you get, I don't have to teach you that you get market validation faster, you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
customer, yeah,
Well,
interactions.
I mean, I'm interested in this because to me, it's felt like sometimes when we iterate, it just sort of is like flavor of the day. It's like, oh, this messaging kind of
Yep.
bothers me. And sometimes it feels like it was a good iteration in the sense like it was really based on something real and concrete in our learnings. Other times it just feels like it's, how you're, the mood you're in when you're like, this
Yep.
is just bugging me because it feels a little old. And so how do you iterate in a way that's like scientific, that's actually getting you closer to something that's going to have impact versus just changing based on the moods or the random preferences of the day you decide to update your copy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this actually is something that bothered me as well until I figured it out. And I used to also like get myself deep into the like voice of customer data, listen to the sales calls, all of this stuff, get really deep into it, but and then push out the copy that was good, was working, was following the frameworks, but like it was more like art and hunch more than scientific method, and it was bothering me because like I could call myself out for being like a fluff delivery guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though like the copy was solid, it just like I didn't have a proper process. Now, one thing I realized is that you cannot construct a compelling message if you don't know who you're talking to. Like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people who you could be addressing, even at the same company, obviously. But
Right. Right. Right.
the thing is, you need to focus. You need to make a decision on the exact person and their circumstance that you're talking to, and more or less ignore everyone else. And this is like I have a canvas on my website, which is basically a 4-stage process on how to repeatably develop messaging based on what you know about your ICP. And it
Right.
starts with like the first step is defining your ICP, and it's basic stuff like the type of company you want to sell to, the type of company that you know are wasting your time, and
Right.
what's
Right.
the
Right.
difference between the two, like what's
Yep.
the qualifier. Now, inside of that company, you have the person that owns a specific area of their business, like the outcomes
Yep.
for the
Yep.
business that's relevant to the product you're selling. Now, that person, whoever that is, they have specific lines in their job description, and like could be metaphorically, basically this is a part of their job that's relevant to the product, and
Yep.
there
Yep.
is a specific way they are doing this job without
Yep.
your product.
Yep.
This is their status quo, and one way or the other, the status quo like isn't working for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be
It's
a
creating pain or problems or something like that.
yeah. Otherwise, like why would they be interested in
Totally.
switching to something
Yeah.
else? Now, you have to unpack that problem, like how it doesn't work, why it doesn't work, because there's an underlying reason for that. And finally, what do they end up with as a result of it not working? So this is like how you define the ICP. And then in the second step, you go like a little bit deeper. Those job description lines in the job description, you basically unpack those into activities. Like I'm trying to do X, I'm trying to do Y, I'm trying to do Z. These are the activities that that ICP is doing on like daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis. This is what they think about day in, day out, more or less. There's a current way of doing it, and there's a current pain associated with doing that. And then you just rank those. Like one is like, I don't like it, but like I'm not too concerned about it. And 5 is just, please just shoot me, but don't make me do this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'd rather eat crickets
yeah, yeah, yeah.
covered in the hot, in ghost pepper sauce than do this work.
Yeah, and you may notice that at this stage, we have not talked about our product at all. Like, this is simply about the customer. Now, on the third stage out of 4, all we do is take a mirror and mirror the activities and pains with whatever you have to respond to those pains in your product.
With your
So
product. Interesting.
activity, there's a current way, and there's a pain. And you search for features in your product that let that specific ICP, not anyone, but that specific ICP, do that job without that pain, or like minimizing that pain
Yeah.
to a degree. And you, row by row, do this mirroring exercise, and you have the feature, the capability that it grants, like now you can do X. And then you just, again, do a ranking, but not rank on the pain, but rank on the capability and how impressive that capability is to that specific ICP.
Interesting.
And then, like, this is where the quote unquote magic happens. When you add up the scores of how painful it is and how impressive the solution is, and add those up and rank, you have more or less a top chart of the most painful things that your specific product solves most impressively. And those make
For a
sense to
specific
lead.
person. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those
Interesting.
make sense to lead with on your homepage, in your marketing, in your ads, blog, like case studies, all of the marketing, like even sales pitches, especially if you're early stage, it makes sense to just iterate your pitch. I think this is what you were doing, especially early on. Like
Yep.
each new conversation with the prospect, you were tweaking more or less how to present the product based on
Yep.
how it worked in the previous call.
Interesting. So one question I have is like, what do you do when you have, multiple personas or user types that work at your ICP that could be buyers that ultimately, like when you're fully successful at your ICP, that use the product. So, for example, in Grain's case, we have our primary ICP, which is like a sales manager, oftentimes, sometimes a founder, kind of leading sales, head of sales. But then there's sales reps, AEs, sorry, and then there's product people, there's customer success reps. Invariably, when Grain is successful, it spreads to everyone, and oftentimes
Yep.
any three of those personas or four of those personas can be the first person to kind of hit the landing page. How do you handle such a situation like that?
Again, sometimes you have to make a decision on the person you want the most, like the person you want to bet on. And that's gonna be the person who will land on your website, and not just like any landing page. They may land on the blog, and like more often than not, they still click on the logo in the navbar and go to the homepage to check out the
Right.
website. So you want someone who is close enough to the problem and has enough like weight in the buying committee to advocate for you. And more or less, you have to like relegate the other ICPs, but you don't have to ignore them completely. You just don't speak to them primarily on the homepage, but there's nothing stopping you from having like a product or solutions item in your navbar that says solutions, and then you say for product people, for sales leaders, for customer success. All of those use cases are valid, but you're choosing not to lead or not to dilute it on the homepage. You just identify that like 80-20 rule, most of your revenue and success and retention LTV comes from that specific like sales leaders, for example, use case, and then you just go
How
all in
does
it. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. How does this advice change? Like if you're a product led company versus a sales led, or if you're I'm curious if it changes, and I don't like this word because I think strategically it's a concept that can be kind of messy. But if you're like a more horizontal company, like in the case I described, it's sort of like you have different personas, but there's a clear
Yep.
prioritization. But what if you're just like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a very like, Zoom or whatever, or something that's like very, very horizontal. Like, how does, as you move towards being a little bit more horizontal or a little bit more PLG versus sales led, do any of these principles change, or do you still think you stand by them?
I would say the biggest part changes in the beginning when you define the ICP. You focus less on the position that they hold inside the organization and more on the job to be done, like the specific area of the business they own. Like I own
Okay.
retention, or I own revenue, or I own, to take your example with Zoom, or like Calendly, that would be I own appointment setting, for example, for in case of Calendly or SavvyCal. And you want to, no matter the industry, no matter the more or less use case, the job to be done is to get more appointments or
Right,
meetings.
right, right.
And how you help with this
Interesting.
is by breaking down the job to be done, ideally agnostically from the vertical. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Very, very interesting. Last couple questions, then I want to get into some teardowns together live, if I can
Sure,
put you on the spot.
sure.
So, like, what would you say are we've talked about your process for developing and iterating on messaging. Fundamentally, like, what would you say is like the biggest difference between messaging that converts, that actually helps a visitor to your web page take that next call to action versus messaging that doesn't convert?
Yeah, so things that do convert versus those that don't, there are two things. Like one part of it is hard to control, and the other one is more or less easy to control. The hard to control part is right person, right time. Because like if the time isn't right or the person that lands on your website isn't the right person to be seeing that message, like there's not much you could do. Like obviously you cannot control, but you can influence that by like running very targeted ads, very like sophisticated ABM. Sure, but like you cannot fully control that. What you can control is the stuff you say on your homepage, and that's relevance and that's clarity. You have to make sure that whatever you're saying is relevant to the people that you want to be seeing that message, and you want to be absolutely clear about the value that those people can get from making the next step. And obviously you want, that's more of a CRO, conversion rate optimization realm, but you want to make it easy for the right person to make the next step. You don't want to overcomplicate it, but that's more tactical level than strategic.
So yeah, interesting. So like on this point of relevance, how much is like relevance determined by just what your product is versus how you message it? Like I mean, if you had to sort of like assign 10 points across the two, how would you do that?
That's an interesting question. Relevance is, when I'm saying message relevance, I mean the relevance of messaging, not relevance of product. Because
Got it.
the example, like if I'm an AE at a company and I land on a website that says it's for CFOs, like I have more important things to do than just take a look, than looking through a website for CFOs, and I'm just gonna move on. Like this
Yeah.
irrelevant
Yeah.
for me. But
Yeah.
if I'm a CFO and I land on a website that says like whatever, like appointment settings for CFO, and just pulling it out, making shit up on
Yeah.
the spot. But
Because
basically,
you're setting
category,
appointments, but it's for CFOs, not.
yeah, job to be done for CFOs. That signals to me that this is relevant for CFOs specifically. This is for me. And now I'm more inclined to read on and be the claims that you're making on your website are more credible to me
Yeah.
because you just indicated that this is for the specific type of person that I am. I can slightly identify it. Obviously, you haven't won me over yet, but at least I'm not that skeptical if you just remove the identification of CFO and just say, we'll increase your revenue. Like this is means
Right.
absolutely nothing. But if it says for CFO and it says we'll increase your revenue or we'll increase your bottom line or something like that, even though it's still, I cringe at the increased revenue line, but it's not a credible claim, but it's ever so slightly more credible thanks to the relevance item above. Make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. You ready for like a fast fire landing
Yeah,
page critique?
yeah.
All right. We'll see how this goes. This is unscripted, so I'm excited. Should be fun. My screen, and we'll see what happens here. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
It's loading. Okay, okay, Calendly.
Awesome.
All right. So user scheduling ahead. This is the problem with this kind of teardowns, is that obviously I don't have the context. Obviously I've not talked to the Calendly team. I don't have the details of their marketing plan, but like easy scheduling, it's good. It kind of speaks to the pain of the current status quo. But then again, is it really that hard? Like literally today at the end of 2024 there are plenty of things and tools, every possible flavor of scheduling, that like easy isn't really
You're saying
doesn't
easy is
really
not
have the
that
appeal.
compelling.
Yeah, it's not that compelling. I get why they may be doing it because they're trying to go as broad as possible. Obviously, they're trying to win the broader total addressable market, and the broader you try to go, the fewer options you have to choose from to make it apply to every possible ICP and so on.
Yeah.
But
And
still,
and this is the interesting thing that I find curious is like, so with messaging, right? To me, I have this question of like, obviously, I think it's important, but there's some people who are coming to Calendly to sign up because a brand or because
yep.
their friend told them about it, and so I'm curious, like, how do you think about the sort of the work that messaging does? It's like how important, if you say like, what percent of landing page visits would you say can be won by messaging versus others that are just going to convert because they came from a source that sort of made them highly motivated? Does that make sense as a question, like what I'm trying to get at
Yeah,
there?
it does. Obviously, like the really extreme example of this would be if I tell you that, hey, Jeff, I have a problem with trying to do X. And you tell me,
Yep.
hey, like, check out this tool.
I
Obviously,
love it. It's my
like,
favorite.
yeah,
It's
it's your favorite, and I haven't heard about of it, but I go to their website. The landing page makes zero sense, but since Jeff recommended it, I'm going to sign up anyway.
yeah, yeah.
And this is like an
Or, or,
extreme
or,
example
or
of
an
that.
example of this would be like, literally last night I was talking to my father-in-law and I'm like, you have to try Perplexity. It is the coolest tool that I've been
Yep.
using, in the last, besides grain, just kidding, in the last 2 weeks or whatever, or sorry, 2 years. It really is. It's like probably had more of a like change on my workflows than like almost any tool in the last several years. And so he just went to perplexity.com, boom. He didn't even think about it or
Yep.
read the web messaging at all because it's like, I gave it such a raving review and told him he has to
Yep.
do it.
Yeah, and it makes sense. The problem is, depending on your stage, the stage of the company, like you don't really have the brand equity to do the work of convincing people. You don't have the
Hmm. Hmm.
word of mouth. All you have is a page on the web, maybe a social proof, like a testimonial or two from, sorry, from people who love your product, and this is all the ammo that you're gonna get like this quarter,
Yeah.
and you have to do the product marketing, product messaging first to earn that brand equity to like shift the gradient more towards the brand marketing, brand messaging that promotes the company more than it promotes the product. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Make that totally makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah. Go on.
sorry, what were you going to say? Just finish that thought.
Yeah, all I wanted to say is that too many founders try to shift that emphasis from product messaging to marketing message to brand messaging way too early. Like
Way too
you
soon.
have to
Yeah.
be in like tens of millions of revenue most of the time to start that transition. And most people, not most, but a lot of founders I'm seeing, like they get to like tens of thousands of dollars in monthly revenue, and okay, like we have a huge brand, like let's lead with Apple-esque copy.
Makes sense. Okay, I've got another one for us.
Sure.
This one going more so Calendly's maybe an interesting example of someone who has a lot of brand. Let's go to one
Yep.
with maybe a little bit less brand awareness. This is a company we love, Arrows,
Yeah.
good friends of this team.
Yeah.
Curious what you think.
Yeah. I did a review of them like maybe
Oh,
half a
you
year
did.
ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Daniel. Yeah. Uh, was the CEO.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep.
yeah. So it's good. I like the capability slash outcomes here, like win more deals, onboard customers faster.
Would
This
this
is
would
good.
this first one, win more deals, be like a violation of your principle of like too abstract of a it's
Depends.
like it's sort of like this one notch down from get more revenue.
This is a really good point. The distinction between this being sort of valid and this being like a waste of space, it depends on whether or not this is followed up with the logistics of getting that outcome. Let me see. Like in the subhead, they say send sales rooms and onboarding plans to your customers to build momentum and drive action. the best part, it's all connected to pipelines in HubSpot. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. They promise a really pretty far-fetched outcome because a lot of things can go wrong between them, like me signing up for arrows and
Yeah, there's a
me
lot of,
winning more
how
deals.
good is the rep, how good are your
Yeah.
leads, quality of your leads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So the missing piece here, that's not actually missing here, this is like the missing link, is that how do you actually enable me to achieve that outcome? And this is where they get it right. They say that Arrows lets me send sales rooms and onboarding plans to my customers to build momentum and drive action. And this puts the headline, the promise in the headline, into context. And
Right,
this is why
right.
I don't like shun it. I still think that probably this is the case of that subhead copy, the first sentence, could be the headline actually. Replace win more deals, onboard the customers faster with send sales rooms and onboarding plans to your
This one,
customers.
right?
Like,
You're saying this could
yeah,
actually be the H1.
yep, the H1. Just lead with this because it's more. And Arrows is probably at the stage where they have like marginal brand awareness. So the people that land there are probably a portion of them are referred by people who have had experience, like they're recommending. They have some social presence on LinkedIn. So it's not out of the blue. It's not like they have launched their first ever landing page on Product Hunt and like it's completely new and like, what the fuck is this? Sorry.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So
Should we do
yeah,
one
I
more?
would say,
And then,
yeah, go on.
okay, last one. We'll do grain. You did this already in your post, but I just want to, we can do it live
Sure.
together. Just focus on this, above the fold.
Yeah. Uh, in the H1, one great thing, one not so great thing. Conversation intelligence is a great thing because it instantly lets people know the category you're in. Like, so
Right,
this is
right.
good. I'm not exactly sure if that's the best category for grain.
Yeah,
Maybe it is. Like, I would have to, I don't know, scour the sales calls, scour the G2 reviews. But if that's how your ideal, like that the ICP is understanding is framing the problem they're trying to solve with a grain, then great. If not, maybe this needs tweaking. The not so great part is that made simple is I like to use the test of as opposed to what. Made
right,
simple,
right.
like as opposed to made harder, and like that's not
Yeah.
something that someone else would have promised. But if you lead with
Oh, you're
something,
saying the claim you make needs to have a point of view such that it like others would disagree with it. It sort of needs to be you're
like
taking it.
it would make sales reversed, but not for your product.
Got it. Sorry, say that last part again.
It would have made sense reversed, but not for your product.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yep. Yep. Makes sense. I love that.
Yeah. So, the subhead copy, like grain automates note taking, record keeping, and insights capture. This is the capabilities. This is great. This is awesome. And so you can spend your time where it matters most, coaching your team and closing deals. This is a good subhead copy, and it's more or less doing what I mentioned earlier about talking to a specific. I think this is your main ICP, so the
Correct. Yep. Yep.
sales team manager, and this is speaking to exactly that person, I'd imagine. And this is doing a great job. Also, it's great that you're showing the product. The not so the things to improve are the call to actions, because right now you're saying try for free or book a demo, but you're not kind of given a frame of reference. Why would either one be a great option for me? And you
Interesting.
offload the work of figuring out what to do next onto me completely. And I think like, do I need to talk to a person? Why would I need to talk? What's the benefit of trying it for free versus talking to a sales rep? Assuming that's what's going to happen immediately after I book a demo. So
Interesting. And so, like for example, is there a good? I'm trying to think. Like, is there a good example of a landing page that does that kind of takes away that cognitive dissonance
Yep.
from the user and kind of
You
tells you,
could.
hey, if you're this person, book a demo. If you're this person, try for free. Or because I really like that point. The thing is, I just mostly see some, I was just looked at
Yep.
several that are kind of all the same.
Let me think. Two answers for you. First one is one of my favorites. You could share your screen back. Let's take a look at those
Okay,
if we have time. So one is openphone.com. I recently did a review of
openphone.com. Okay.
their homepage. This is actually a thing of beauty, except for two words in the H1.
All right, let me
And
pull up openphone real fast.
yep, yep. So this is it. And what they're doing is they only have talk to sales call to action in the navbar, and the hero pushes to do like a self-explore kind of route. So this is one option, and I like it because they've made a decision. They're not trying to overwhelm their visitors with options. They're saying like, this is the thing that we prefer you to do, but if you really want to talk to a sales rep, for example, if you have big volume, or you'd rather spend 30 minutes talking and asking questions to a sales rep, to a person, rather than spend 2 hours trying to find the answers to obscure questions on our website yourself.
On websites, right? Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So another option is, I think it's Scraper API. Let me find them. I did a review post on them today. One sec.
Is this
Let me see. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's in the middle tier for copy, but the call to action area, if you look at it, it says start trial. But then in the micro copy, they have need over 3 million API
Oh
created
yeah, yeah.
monthly.
This is interesting. I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do
Contact sales.
have two call to actions, but the secondary one isn't even a button. It's a link to the sales page. And the crucial bit is not that it's a link, but it has accompanying copy that qualifies you, pre-qualifies you to
Saying
say,
this is probably
like,
the right path for you if if you have this. That makes a lot. I love this actually. This is awesome.
yeah, this is very
Very
nice.
cool. Well, hey, Pavlo, this is good stuff. One thing that I mentioned when I sort of announced this event was like I think this, getting really good at messaging copying is so important for founders, obviously important for marketers, but if you're doing a startup, you really need to learn some of these things. And then even sales reps, I think it's helpful, or heads of sales, sales leaders, it's helpful to understand these things because I think you and your marketing need to be quite aligned on what is actually the value props and
Yep.
what the messaging we're using. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just finally, as the last points on like, why is this
Yeah,
important for sales leaders to understand some of these things and work with marketing on them?
yeah, a really good example of this and underappreciated aspect of having alignment between like sales, marketing, and like really marketing across your entire organization is that when someone clicks on your ad that like someone on your team has written, and they like the ad, they go to the landing page, they get to the landing page. It may be a landing page, it may be a homepage, but it has been written like 2 years ago by a completely different person with completely different messaging. Like, let's say it's a
Yep.
landing page. They
Yep.
like, this isn't what I clicked for. And they click on the logo on the navbar and they get to the homepage, which has been updated 6 months ago by a third person, like, or a consultant. And like, it's a third thing. And like, people are confused because no one had a strategy, a messaging strategy to say a single thing or like a set of messages on LinkedIn, in the ads, on your homepage, on your landing pages, in your blog, in your case studies, everywhere. Like email marketing, all of this stuff
Right.
is
Right.
connected. So it matters really, really a lot.
I love it. Amazing. Pablo, where can people find you if they're interested in, hearing more of your thoughts on messaging and copy and building great landing pages?
Sure, I'm like the best thing is to follow me on LinkedIn. I spend an unhealthy amount of time on LinkedIn probably. And if you are keen to read more of this, but you don't want to deal with LinkedIn, I have a newsletter, like
Oh, nice.
newsletter.concisecopy.co. And it has a bunch of free resources right in the welcome email. Like there's the messaging framework, the checklists, everything is like from the day one available to you for free.
That's awesome. And I can attest to like your stuff's really tactical, really useful and practical on LinkedIn. So I mean it's really good stuff.
Appreciation.
All right. Well, hey, good to chat, Pablo. I'm excited to keep in touch, man. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, later.